welcome back guys. We've got glutes today, obviously. I'm not too sure if I've filmed this session for a while. I think that the first time I filmed it, I was with Chloe, and then I did it with Magda, and now I'm doing it on my own. But the session's slightly changed. So obviously I was starting with a glute kickback first. That is basically probably more so a mindset thing than anything. I'm not saying that you have to stimulate your muscle before you're going with a heavy compound. Because I don't connect with my glutes very naturally, I felt like doing a small isolation movement helped me to be able to engage in my glutes a little bit more on my hip thrusts. But we were finding that my hip thrusts were taking a little bit of a stall, and that's probably because my body weight's been on a little bit of a stall, haven't seen food progress for a little bit of time. So there's lots of different things as to why. Plus when you get a little bit stronger, you get to a point where you kind of have to take away those little feeler movements before a big compound, so you kind of go in with the big compound, so you're a little bit fresher, so you can keep that progress going. It's just another way to be able to keep progressively overloading your training. So we've taken up foods, we have changed the order of the session, and we've actually seen progress happen for the last few sessions. I actually wasn't very happy with how my hip thrust looked last session, so I'm going to be a smart little peanut, and if my sets don't look very pretty and they're still really bouncy, etc., I'm probably going to scale back on my load for that first set, aim for some higher reps so that we can keep the movement moving really well and can progress the movement where it form in a great spot rather than it being bouncy, swingy, etc., because that's when I start not to use my glutes, and the most important thing is to stimulate and work my glutes. I'm going to train now. Feels good. Sometimes it always feels good. That last warm up always feels good. Then you do one working set and you're like, fucking hell, that's heavy as fuck. First movement is the wonderful barbell hip thrusts. We're aiming to get full range of motion, so not super short, more like a hip bridge. We're doing a full hip thrust. I'm aiming to keep my feet just outside of hip width because that's what feels best for me and my glute engagement. I do turn my toes out just a little bit because that really allows me to be able to get that last little bit of hip extension, so where I roll my hips all the way through to the ceiling to really squeeze my glutes. There's not really a lot, if any, really movements that you actually get that, especially compound lifts for your glutes. So that's why a hip thrust is king. Obviously aiming to keep nice and slow with the motion on the way down, being aggressive but with control on the way up, and just aiming not to have lots of bouncing and swinging and moving backwards and forwards. It's literally just down and up, keeping your back nice and flat, keeping your hips under, almost keeping your chest neutral to really help that. If you are someone that struggles with glute engagement, definitely scale it back, get your form right, and progress it over time, and I mean slowly over time. If you are someone that believes that you can use your hamstring on a hip thrust, I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it is not a hamstring biased movement, regardless of where you put your feet or what you do. The reason that you've got your knee bent is to inhibit the way in which your hamstring would work, so it essentially doesn't, it's just there as a stabilizer, I guess. Will you feel it? Yes. And if you have poor foot positioning, especially if they're too far forwards, would you feel your hamstrings compared to your actual glutes? Yes. But does that mean that they're actually stimulating to be able to create muscle growth? No. The hip thrusts for your glutes. Your primary muscle groups that will work when you are doing a hip thrust is your glutes, is your adductors, and actually your abdominals. So if anyone's telling you that you're using your hip thrusts as a hamstring movement, and especially kind of if you're short range of motion hip thrusts for a hamstring, they're not. Otherwise, why use a glute bridge a very short range of motion. I'll leave that one there. They were good then. They were a bastard, but they were good. No, I've been doing it for a bit, but they were a little bit bouncy before, and my feet were a little bit too far forwards last session. That's perfect. I'll not give myself a perfect very often, but that was bloody good. It's a good pen, that. We've got 3 sets on here. It's a bit of a fucker, but hopefully it means that I'll actually have a bum. Because naturally I do not have a bum. I would say I've got white girl genetics, but maybe that's me being racist. But I do. And it's only an insult to myself, so we can take it as it is. Good. 15 reps for 4 plates. Not fucking bad. Be wellness before we know it. Just kidding. Had someone ask me how I keep my shins vertical on hip thrust. Basically, when I come down to keep the motion down and up, I'll almost feel a little bit like I come down and a little bit forwards. Never let your hips travel back when you come down, otherwise your knees will go over the toes and you will use your quads.
I just wanted to take a small break to speak about our new MK Empower movement. It's a 12-week challenge. It is different and probably less intense than usual online coaching. It's for people who want a little bit of a kick of motivation. That you will get individualized plans for both training and nutrition. You will get access to be able to speak to us at any time throughout that 12 weeks, and you will be given information on how to sustain a really healthy way of living for the rest of your life. So please inquire through the inquiry link or DM or email us to be able to join the MK Empower movement.
Right, exercise number 2 is the banded reverse hypers. So bandies are essentially the same as when I do a banded RDL, and I know that I've spoken about it. At the top of the rep, so when I extend up, there's not usually a lot of tension on there from the dumbbells. There's a little bit of a drop off in resistance if you want to get a little bit technical about it. So essentially the band just means that there's no drop off in resistance, making it a more complete movement, especially for glutes. So here, to be able to get more tension in my glutes compared to my hamstrings, I bend my knee ever so slightly, I turn my toes out ever so slightly, and I keep my lower back and my upper back slightly rounded, and that allows for more glutes, less hammies, and it's a great movement for your bottom. Anybody can go really heavy on them. take my hat off to you. Definitely can't go very heavy on them. If you're doing anything where you're pulling, rowing, holding on to something, just use some wrist straps, because your finger strength, your grip strength, your wrist strength, whatever, is going to give up way before your actual muscle mass. So whether it's a lat pull down, an upper back row, an upper back pull down, an RDL, a deadlift, a rack pull, a reverse hyper, strap your wrists up, lock in, get to work on the mass that you're supposed to be working on, don't be worried about your grip strength. If you want some good wrist strap, get the hard body ones, use my code MEG. Literally, because they are so long, you can wrap them around, you don't even have to squeeze hard, they just hook onto the bar, so you don't tie your wrists, you don't give way halfway through your set. They are ideal. Code MEG. Did a question box yesterday. Someone asked me if it was my own hair. Yes, it is my hair. Bodybuilding doesn't have to give you bad skin and no hair if you do it right. Oh my knees. Oh, what a bastard. It's not good, is it? I'm an old lady, so when there's a change in the weather, because it's gotten a little bit cold, then very warm, and then cold again, my knees feel it. So I might need some knee sleeves on today. As my knees are a little bit sore, even though I'm not going into knee flexion, just want a little bit of warmth. So I'm going to put my single ply knee sleeves on from Hard Body. Again, use my code MEG to be able to get money off yours. You don't want to use knee wraps, because knee wraps make it so that your kneecap can't move. If your kneecap can't move, say hello to knee troubles in the future, especially if you're pressing or anything else under load. I don't know anybody that has used wraps when they were younger and then not ended up with knee issues in the future. So use single ply knee sleeves. Plus, knee wraps make it easier. Fucking do the work. We'll see. Had a question on my Instagram about how I manage my recovery. Thought it was a good question, to be fair, especially given the fact that at the moment I train a lot of lower body very frequently. So what do I do to stay on top of my recovery? Hot baths with Epsom salts. That's probably the one that's most cost effective for most. Foam rolling, which is also very cost effective. Making sure that when it's time to sit down, that I actually sit. Again, a very cost-effective way to be able to recover. Making sure that you keep on top of your hydration and your nutrition. Again, another cost-effective way that's just a basic part of bodybuilding. Other things that potentially cost a little bit more money, I've definitely found benefit from them, especially training hard. Regular massages, a sauna and ice bath every 10 days, especially before my heaviest leg session, which is the squat day. And I have found that my leg recovery is definitely way better. I take my hat off to any wellness athlete, because to get them wheels, they've definitely got to train legs heavily and properly, very, very, very frequently. I'm not taking it away from bikini girls, but you don't really have to train quads. I mean, glute sessions and stuff are hard, but it's not quite like a full leg day. And I can tell you that because I do both. Anyway, and I've competed in bikini. That is how I stay on top of my recovery, and that's how I keep my body fresh all over to make sure that I can stay on top of being able to train frequently. I don't take deloads often, between kind of 6 to 8 weeks for me, depending on when it is that I need one. Hard, heavy training, look after your body, and you'll grow better. Also, not taking stupid past failure reps. They don't do anything for you. Gaz is filming this because one thing that I forgot to say was intra-workout nutrition. It's another way to stay on top of your recovery. If you're someone that flags a little bit in your session, put some carbs in your intra-workout. You'll feel fantastic. Next exercise is the reverse lunges. Someone's going to ask me while I'm out of breath, I'm going to say steroids, but I haven't taken any steroids since the Olympia, so it must be because I'm a fat bastard. That's why. Anyway, or maybe I've just done a really hard set and tried very hard. Maybe those people that don't know what it's like to be out of breath on a set, maybe need to try a bit harder. So a great way to know. Anyway, we're doing the reverse lunge. We've got everybody in the gym smashing their weights because it's really exciting to listen to smashing weights. I mean, if you're only doing 130 kilos a side, pretty sure that you can take it to the floor easily. Anyway, reverse lunges. We want to make sure that the shin is staying vertical. I noticed on a couple of my first reps that my knee was traveling backwards when I was coming down, so I rectified it by keeping more weight in my working leg, naughty me. We want to make sure that we're coming down nice and slow. We want to keep the hip under to keep more tension in the glute, and we want to keep the chest nice and tall. If we dip down, we take a lot of tension into the erectors rather than keeping it into the glute. Again, I noticed on some of my reps I was doing that. So keep your chest nice and tall, keep your hips under, keep your back nice and flat. Slow on the way down, shin vertical, on your glutes. Fantastic stuff. As you can tell, well, hopefully you can tell, this is leg press for the glutes, a single leg press for the glutes. I'm very lucky that we have a machine like this that you don't really have to fiddle about with your foot placement to be able to target your glutes, because you can't really go into a lot of knee flexion with this machine, really. I'm aiming to keep my shin vertical to the foot plate, again, to bias my glutes. My range of motion isn't cut short. I am going all the way to my chest, but because I have my foot high on the actual foot plate, it won't go into flexion even though I go to full depth. So if you kind of put your foot a bit lower and you kind of stop when you get to 90 degrees, you just put a lot of tension onto your actual joints. So just aim to put your foot placement in a position where you can have your knee at 90 or your shin vertical. When you get into the hole, can you completely switch off your quads? No, it is a leg press. You are going to use your quads a little bit, even if you put your foot position in a place where you are biasing your glutes. So that's just one thing to be mindful of. I see so much content of, oh, I stopped this because I felt that. I stopped this because I felt my quads. Yes, you are doing the leg press. You're going to use your quads, you can't stop them from working. It's like doing a lat row and going, oh, I'm going to stop because I can feel it in my trap or I can feel it in the middle of my back. Yeah, you can't stop them from working. The muscles are going to work because they're stabilizing muscles. Anyway, I'm doing a glute focused leg press. I'm making sure that I'm taking it all the way to failure. If you don't take your sets to failure, do, and you'll see your physique progress so much. Natty or not. Oh, that wasn't a rep pass failure. Glutes, kickbacks. They're a fantastic isolation for your glute. Here, I'm doing just a normal cable kickback. As you can see, my chest is over quite far. That's simply just because with how flexible I am, if I stand a little bit more upright and kick my leg as far back as it can go, I arch my back a lot. If I arch my back, I just take a lot of pump into my lower back and a lot of it into my erector and not really into my actual glute. So keeping the lower back flat and almost feeling like you have your hips tucked under, a little bit like a shitting dog. It allows you to be able to create a little bit more tension into your actual glute. So you might personally not need to lean over as far as I do, and you might need to find what feels best for you, stick to it, get strong with it, and push it to failure. How long should you take between your exercises? If it is a compound lift, definitely want to take at least a couple of minutes. Wait until your heart rate comes down, wait until you feel ready to go, and then go. If it's just an isolation, you don't need to be waiting for too long. You're just wasting time. A minute and a half max, get back in, get to work, get rocking and rolling. Obviously it might be different if you've got a training partner and you can't potentially go as quick as that because they're doing their set. But if you train on your own, set some boundaries so that you're not in the gym forever. Otherwise, your post-workout meal will be waiting for you. You'll be going small, just kidding. Oh, it's a no from me. That is the end of my session. That's all glutes done and dusted. We're back in 2 days' time for squats. My legs are so excited. Anyway, my legs are progressing and getting bigger. My upper body seems to be staying the same, even though I don't train it anymore. Hopefully it starts to decrease a little bit, especially these bloody things. Anyway, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff if you enjoyed it. We'll be back for more. Let me know in the comments below if there's anything that you would like me to cover. Always happy to do anything. Thanks, guys.